Sea location. Oh, that's the Red Sea? Okay. Where would the Red Sea be? United States. Red Sea, Utah? There's no way. It dried up? That definitely looks like water. Tell me that doesn't look like water used to be there. Mount Nebo, Utah. What? There's a Mount Nebo, Utah? Moab, that sounds familiar. The Moabites? Lock in and buckle up, because you're in for another creepy and scary TikTok reaction video. I'm Jet Chuck, and on these dark waters, you gotta keep your head on a swivel, because you don't know what's gonna come at you. Let's get into it.
Oh, we've got your ass. We've got your ass now. This is the La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. And the people that said they built this, they didn't build it. This is what you call Moorish Tartarian. So the mainstream narrative says they started building this before Nelson Mandela was alive. They said they started building this before Morgan Freeman was alive, before World War I and World War II. They're saying they started building this at the last reset in the 1800s. So you're trying to tell me this took 141 years to build and you still haven't finished it yet? There's still scaffolding on the roof, brother. So they like to say the original architect suddenly died halfway through, and they rely on funding every year to, no, listen mate, don't lie, you haven't got the blueprints for this one. You don't know how to build it, because look how ugly and mash up the building really is. This is what you call melted brick. This building was here before the mud flood. This building was there when the Moors ruled Spain. And when you look for construction photos, all you get is something like this. This don't look like a building site. This looks like a reset rescue mission. So no, you man didn't build that building. The Moorish Tartarians did.
The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted.
The true location of the land of Judah, continuing my series on the possibility that biblical history happened in the Americas. Today we're going to be talking about the real location of the land of Judah. Now, what makes the tribe of Judah so important in the Bible? The tribe of Judah became the most powerful and most important tribe. Not only did it produce the great kings David and Solomon, but also it was prophesied that the Messiah would come from among its members. The kingdom of Judah was in Utah. The best-selling book When Rocks Cry Out by Horace Butler has already demonstrated that Peru was Jerusalem and that the kingdom of Judah is in Utah. How did Mr. Butler prove that the kingdom of Judah was in Utah? Well, he used biblical verses from Deuteronomy chapter 34 verses 1 through 3, which reads as follows. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab onto the mountain of Nebo to the top of Pisgah, that is over Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead unto Dan, and all Naphtali and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah unto utmost sea, and the south and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, unto Zoar. The strange thing about the description of the kingdom of Judah given in Deuteronomy chapter 34 is that all these biblical place names can be found in Utah, such as Manasseh, Utah, Mount Nebo, Utah, Mount Pisgah, Utah, Jericho, Utah, South Gilead Way, Utah, Ephraim, Utah, Daniel, Utah, Nephi, Utah, short for Naphtali, Moab, Utah, and many other biblical names are found in Utah, such as Goshen, Utah, Jordan Salt Lake, which could possibly be the real Dead Sea. There is a mountain in eastern Nevada named Mount Moriah, and it's over 12,000 feet high. In Utah, not only is there a river Jordan, but it runs out of a freshwater lake and into the Great Salt Lake, which is remarkably like the Dead Sea. There is also a Mount Nebo in Utah, approximately 12,000 feet high. So yes, with evidence this strong, the real Judah was possibly in Utah. Now people often try to say that it was the Mormons that gave these places names in Utah, biblical names to support their position as Jews. However, this explanation fails miserably because there are no 12,000 feet high mountains in modern-day Jerusalem. Therefore, the real Judah or Israel has to be in Utah because it fits the description of the kingdom of Judah perfectly. Now, one of the criticisms I would get for looking into the possibility that much of biblical history happened into the Americas is that I'm stepping into Mormon territory. However, I do not believe in any denomination whatsoever. So just because I look into the possibility of biblical history happening somewhere else doesn't make me part of any denomination. I also believe that we should limit our use of technology such as social media and artificial intelligence.
Hey, he said he couldn't have said that any better. I'm with him on that.
But that doesn't make me an Amish. So often people say that the reason Utah has all these biblical names was because of the Mormons. But the reality is all these names were given by the natives found throughout Utah. Such as the name Utah itself, it is derived from the name of the Oti tribe. It means people of the mountains in the Oti language. According to other sources, Utah is derived from the Apache name Yuta, which means tall. In the Spanish language, it was said as Utah. Subsequently, the English-speaking people adapted the word Utah. There is no J in Hebrew, therefore Judah is Yuda, especially when you consider the fact that the J and Y have the same meaning and numerical value and are interchangeable as a result. Now, all across Utah you have fascinating rock formations, very unique compared to the rest of the Americas. And one of the most fascinating places in Utah is Moab, Utah. In the Bible, Moab comes from the name Moabites, which belong to the same ethnic stock as the Israelites. Their ancestral founder was Moab, a son of Lot, who was a nephew of the Israelite patriarch Abraham. The Moabites were known to be the enemies of God's people. The kingdom of Moab would constantly mistreat the Israelites. And as a result, to punish the Moabites for mistreating the Israelites, God destroyed Moab's kingdom. And as I've mentioned before, one of the most fruitful things you can study in the Bible is what God's wrath looks like. Whenever God shows his wrath in the scriptures, it often seems to be in the form of a consuming fire. We see examples of this in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where God made it rain fire and brimstone. But Sodom and Gomorrah is not the only kingdom that experienced a consuming fire. Many kingdoms throughout the Bible have experienced God's consuming fire, including Sodom and Gomorrah and the Egyptians, but also the Moabites, such as found in the book of Amos, chapter 2, verse 2. But I will send a fire upon Moab, and it shall devour the palaces of Kerioth, and Moab shall die with tumult, with shouting, and with the sound of the trumpet. So throughout the scripture, God says that he destroyed Moab with a consuming fire. And what do we find that's very interesting in Moab, Utah? All throughout the location of Moab, Utah, you find very fascinating rock formations. Now we're told in school that these are the process of natural erosion through millions and millions of years. But what if Moab, Utah is
That looks like those Tartarian buildings. Tell me that doesn't look like those Tartarians. Hold on, Moabites. Where have I heard? Moab. The Moabs did it first. Moabites. Hold on.
is the result of God's consuming fire. And this place is the true location of the Moabites that got consumed by fire. The first example I want to show you of fascinating rock formations is the church rock just south of Moab. It's a very interesting, fascinating rock formation that looks like it possibly in the past was once a temple. The look of this structure doesn't look like it was the process of natural erosion, but it looks as if it used to be some kind of monument that went through a cataclysm. And we're just simply told that all these fascinating rock formations are the process of nature and just natural erosion through millions of years. But when you really look around all across Moab, Utah, and just all across Utah in general, these rock formations look like the layouts of cities. As the Bible states, God's wrath is a consuming fire, and that he will cause kingdoms to melt like wax, making them pretty much unrecognizable from their glorious original state. So yeah, all across Utah, Moab, Utah, you find very interesting structures that possibly were pyramids, and kingdoms, and castles, and idols. But we're just told, oh, this is nothing interesting, this is the process of natural erosion. So now the famous old questions that a lot of believers like to ask. Why would the devil lie about biblical locations? Why does it matter? It matters because it hides true biblical history, and it also hides proof of God's wrath, and what God can do to an entire kingdom in the blink of an eye. I hope you guys found this very fruitful and interesting.
The Moabites are the Tartarians. That rock sold it. If we look back at that rock he just showed, that was definitely an old school Tartarian building. That was probably the first, one of the first Tartarian buildings they was building. Now I see why Christopher Columbus was trying to get over here so bad. Oh my goodness. The pieces are lining up and adding up. Man, these dark waters, boy, I tell you what. Oh my goodness. Your head gotta be on a swivel. They lied about everything. Your thoughts below. How many of y'all already knew this? And y'all probably just watching me like, oh, he gonna figure it out. He gonna stay on these waters. He'll figure it out eventually. Y'all probably just sitting there watching me laughing like, oh, he don't know yet. I'm over here yelling Tartarians. Tartarians. You're like, yep, he'll figure it out. He'll figure it out. Y'all funny, man. Y'all funny. Somebody could have said something earlier. You guys see that? Something's definitely flying in there. That looks like the Bat Cave entrance or something. Did they forget to close it? What's going on? That is nuts. What is that?
Hiding at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. While the 1850s saw the Grand Canyon bustling with gold mining activities, the sheer volume of gold that was unearthed caused the market value of gold to plunge. There is something hiding at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. While the 1850s saw the Grand Canyon bustling with gold mining activities, the sheer volume of gold that was unearthed caused the market value of gold to plunge dramatically. To prevent further devaluation, the site was promptly shut down and designated as a protected area, barring anyone from further exploiting its riches. Yet the canyon's mysteries didn't stop at gold. Seth Tanner, an intrepid explorer of his time, delved deep into one of the Grand Canyon's caves and reported an astonishing find: ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Building on this discovery, Tanner put forth a riveting theory. He believed that nestled within the Grand Canyon was none other than the elusive city of El Dorado, the fabled city of gold. If Tanner's theory holds water, it would mean that the heart of the canyon conceals an immense treasure. The implications of such a find would be colossal, potentially destabilizing the global gold market. Now, years after Tanner's claim, a new generation of enthusiasts and truth-seekers have taken up the mantle, venturing into the Grand Canyon in hopes of unveiling its secrets.
What are they actually trying to hide in the Grand Canyon? But if we look at those excavators that was digging up all off the coast, I'm pretty sure they could have hit the Grand Canyon, or they could have already got what was already there. Your guys' thoughts below. Did they find whatever they were excavating in the Grand Canyon or not?
The basalt columns are likely a particular kind of plant, and not all of the giant trees of the world are formed from basalt columns, but other silicon structures. The giant trees were diverse in species and type, much like we see in our trees today. Not all of what we've learned to call mountains are giant trees. Eyes exposed to the light take time to adjust, but you will start to spot the difference. This is not a volcano. It's a pile of loose waste that was generated and piled up by giant machines. It has a perfect cone shape, like all loose structures. Lava and volcanic ash contain high levels of silica. They piled the grounded silicon and chemical waste of their activities here. These chemicals sometimes react with each other and sometimes burn. Any farmer will tell you compost heaps can start to heat up to the point of spontaneous combustion. The microcosm and the macrocosm.
He said giant machines. Which machines? What machine could be capable of doing that?
Silicon is the second most abundant element found in Earth's crust after oxygen. Silicon is structurally very similar to carbon. Many scientists have theorized that silicon-based life is possible. When silicon interacts with oxygen, it turns into quartz. This is a carbon-based tree, and this is a silicon-based tree. History is a lie. There was a silicon era in which trees grew to enormous heights, and they were made primarily of crystal, just like quartz. What we call rocks today are really just fragments of old giant trees and other living organisms. Rocks and stone are the phase between silicon and carbon life forms. There are no petrified organisms, just the remains of silicon-era organisms. More than 75% of the Earth's volcanoes reside in the Ring of Fire, a major area in the basin of the Pacific Ocean, the deepest ocean on Earth. Look at this image of our oceans without water. You can see the scarring and trenches on the ocean's floor. This is where they dug and mined the most. The Ring of Fire is home to the deepest trench on Earth, the Mariana Trench. It measures 2,550 kilometers in length and is over 10,000 meters deep. Look at all the other trenches in this area. It is not a coincidence that the largest volcano on Earth, the Tamu Massive, is located right next to these trenches under the water. It is the size of the United Kingdom. The extent of the mining here has created 452 ocean waste piles, or what they call volcanoes. You see, there never used to be oceans on Earth like we know them now. What is now the oceans was once covered in deep silicon crystal. All life was primarily silicon-based. Silicon does not need water to grow. It is very different from the carbon-based life that we know of and experience as humans. Only carbon-based life needs water to survive. Scientists have found an unusual amount of carbon in the ice of the Earth's poles that dates back thousands of years. This high amount of carbon in the ice shouldn't be there. They tell us its recent presence is because of burning fossil fuels since the Industrial Revolution, but that doesn't explain the carbon that dates back thousands of years. It suggests there was a huge worldwide fire at some point in our history. Carbon was brought into Earth. Silicon is usually bound with oxygen. We are told that in order to reduce the silicon to its purest state, which means removing the oxygen molecules, carbon must be used. Silicon is purified through a reaction with carbon in the form of coal, charcoal, and heating to 2,000 degrees in a furnace. They mined the silicon out of Earth and harvested the giant silicon trees and used a vast amount of carbon to purify the silicon. Our oceans contain 38,000 gigatons of carbon. 1 gigaton equals to 1 billion tons. But silicon is the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust. Carbon presence in the Earth's crust is actually very low. Carbon life was never meant to be. Earth would never have favored carbon-based life over other possible choices. A creator would never have favored carbon over silicon. Silicon would form an unbelievable, beautiful world. It binds to oxygen 5 times stronger than carbon. Carbon is weaker and combined with many other elements. Because of this, our lives are short and susceptible to disease.
What I want to know is, what type of machine could excavate? Who could just dig off in the coast like that? What type of machine could be capable of that? What I want to know is what type of machines could be capable of digging it out. Those machines could have been massive, and every volcano could be the waste from it. Dang, so this ancient technology is on a whole nother level now. Your thoughts in the comments below. What type of machine could be capable of doing that? Who could dig off into the entire coast?
The real Egypt, guys, and hopefully it's becoming easier to understand that you were lied to. Because how are they finding mummies in Nevada? Last time I checked Nevada, America's the real Egypt, guys, and hopefully it's becoming easier to understand that you were lied to. Because how are they finding mummies in Nevada? Last time I checked, Nevada is in the Americas. Check this video out. And shout out to Amaru Book Club for the gem.
The Nevada mummy. Let's stop right there. They have mummies in Nevada? Mummies in Nevada? Where are the mummies, everybody? Egypt.
Doesn't really look that high.
Africa, you think so? We're going to discover some more now. Okay, this says, anthropologists say man found in a cave in 1940 is more than 9,400 years old. Okay? Check it out. The remains are kept a secret in a secret location in Carson City Museum. Officials allow reporters to view the mummy on the conditions the site would not be disclosed.
So they may keep.
Welcome to the Grand Canyon, a natural wonder that captures the hearts and minds of millions of visitors each year. The Grand Canyon is a river valley on the Colorado Plateau, located in the state of Arizona, and is often referred to as one of the wonders of the world. The Grand Canyon is 277 miles or 446 kilometers long. The plateau is up to 18 miles or 29 kilometers wide. The canyon is over a mile deep, 6,093 feet or 1,857 meters. The canyon is home to a park of the same name. It covers an area of 1,902 square miles or 4,926 square kilometers. In 2022, it received more than 4.7 million recreational visitors, the second highest of any American national park after Great Smoky Mountains. Grand Canyon National Park was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1979. On February 26, 2019, the park celebrated its 100th anniversary. The official origin from Wikipedia is the Grand Canyon is part of the Colorado River Basin, which has evolved over the last 70 million years. 70 million years is just a gigantic span of time. Yes, us with a life expectancy of about 80 years, it's just hard to imagine how old it is. I still wonder where scientists or researchers get such figures from. I mean how they are transported back in time for such an impressive period of time. But we are not on this channel to glorify modern science. Let's get down to the facts and try to realize that nature has nothing to do with it. By the way, I have a question for you, my viewers. What is nature and what is its essence? But let's not get distracted, let's continue to deal with the myths about the Grand Canyon. Tools I used to find traces of industrial resource extraction in antiquity is the following: if a certain resource was extracted in one place before and the entire volume was not exhausted, other civilizations, no matter how many years later, will return to this place and continue extraction. I found a map of the US that shows areas with high uranium content and a map with the location of uranium mines. Then I compared it to a map of the Grand Canyon, and what do you think? The canyon fell within the area of maximum uranium concentrations. There is a ban on uranium mining in the Grand Canyon watershed of over 1 million acres. 2-year moratorium on new mining claims after the public lands surrounding the Grand Canyon became the site of uranium fever. By the time the moratorium was announced, thousands of mining claims had already been filed. That is, earlier, before all the uranium-bearing rock in the area had been fully mined out. Only the volume that later became the Grand Canyon was mined out. The canyon area is full of decently sized signs that warn of radiation. In 2011, the radioactive background increased 7 times. Many assumed it was because of the Fukushima accident that happened 6 months earlier. But Japan is far away, so I assume that along with the rain fell radioactive local dust that was blown into the atmosphere by the wind. You say, if ore was mined here, where are the signs of ore mining? Let's take a closer look at the tiered structure of the canyon. Just to make it clearer, let's take a look at modern ore mining. And what do we see in the video? Just the same tiering that we see in the canyon. And this is ore mining in Kennecott, Utah. But you would say that mining, and I'll show you later that it's massive and all over planet Earth, requires machinery. I present to your attention a rotary excavator. If you compare it with a man next to it, or with a bulldozer, it will become clear how impressive the size of this machine. The rotary excavator is seen picking out rock, forming, in effect, a canyon with large tiers. Another rotary excavator has picked out the rock in a semicircle in front of it. And now I will show you mountains, mountain ranges, gorges, canyons, and almost uninhabited places with different romantic names. Often they are named after some discoverer. Mountains. Antarctica, then Antarctica again. There, if you look closely, even the tracks of heavy machinery are preserved. Greenland. The Votkins Mountains. What do you think of the scale of mining? Mount Kailas, Tibet. For a minute its height is more than 22,000 feet or 6,714 meters. Goblin Valley. Utah State Park, Utah, USA. Grand Canyon. Here you can see the circular saw cutting the rock. Just a giant quarry in Australia called Blue Mountains. As you can see from the photo, abundant vegetation has hidden the traces of mining, but a feature of all quarries is a gorge. For what it is needed later I will explain. South Africa. Orange River and mountains. I'll tell you more than that. There seem to be no natural mountains or gorges on this planet. As you can imagine, it goes on and on. Another peculiarity of these places, which are in close proximity to the zone of human settlement, to call them national parks, is just the height of cynicism. Now we come to the most important part. Now I will show you how quarries are created, or as you are more accustomed to gorges on Earth by Mother Nature. Notice how a rotary excavator removes layer after layer of rock from large areas. In this photo there are 2 of them at once. and they remove 2 layers simultaneously from one area. In the lower left, let's take a closer look at the bulldozer. Let's assess the scale once again. And this excavator is removing a layer 100 to 130 feet or 30 to 40 meters high. The bottom of the quarry is a huge area and it's absolutely flat as a table, suitable for easy movement of excavators. And now I'm going to show you a bigger scale. Monument Valley, USA. The area of this territory used to be as high as the top of a stump right on the course. A layer several hundred feet high has been excavated. Egypt. The top layer along with the soil has been excavated. Most of Australia has been ripped clean off. No soil, just red desert. Next, let's pay attention to the Colorado River, which runs through the Grand Canyon. It seems to me that it somehow unnaturally loops. I found a map of the United States in 1828 on eBay, overlaid on it a profile of the modern riverbed, and here is what I got. As you can see in the photo, in blue is the old channel, and in red is the new channel of the Colorado River. Let's take a closer look, and what do we see? In places of national parks, at the junction of the states of Arizona and Utah, which are not few here, there is a winding of the channel. This means that absolutely not long ago the riverbed has changed its direction, and I think nature has nothing to do with it. I found some photos of old riverbeds on the internet, and if we compare them to the Grand Canyon, where the Colorado River flows, we can see that over the years the water would have eroded the banks, that has made them more gentle, but here it doesn't look like the water was involved in anything. On the contrary, after this mining operation, water from the broken aquifer flowed along the bottom of the quarry, or a stream that used to flow along a different route came here. Which is just visible in this photo. This is the norm for any quarry. A river can't wash out a mountain range in its path. It'll be a dam in its path. A rock with a certain content of the desired element has been extracted. What should be done with it? Before it can be smelted or otherwise extracted, the ore must be beneficiated to increase the grade. Plants separate out the concentrate, and the waste rock is taken to a dump or a waste heap. You will logically ask me, where are the waste rock deposits with such gigantic volumes of ore mining? And I'm obliged to show you. Replace the words hill, volcano, hillside in your vocabulary with the words dump and spoil heap, and everything will fall into place in your head. But it's better to see it once. These are waste rock heaps not far from the park. Inside them, chemical reactions often take place. They burn and sometimes explode when overpressure builds up inside. That's why many have had the top of the spoil heap blown off. Now remember the Yellowstone volcano. Do you understand what it is and why it can explode? And nature has nothing to do with it, simple pressure physics. The upshot of this story is that in the United States, national parks, especially in the West, are ancient quarries of a previous civilization. And the scale of recycled rock is impressive. If you look at Monument Valley, for example. Apparently, the Earth consumes well under 5% of what it mines.
Dang, that's the one.
with the crown in Sedona. Okay? These things are real, you guys, and nobody's on here trying to make you believe it. You have to see these things for yourself. The lion heads are in Sedona. The rocks have been worn. Look at the Olmec, the statue of the Olmecs in Sedona, you guys. Sedona, Arizona. Let me see if I can find something else that I thought would be more really interesting. Singing birds. These are bird beings, you guys. Again, bird beings are in the rocks. These are ancient temples in Sedona from ancient Atlantis. They try to say that Atlantis is a fable, is a myth. No, it is not. It predates Kemet. Okay? Okay, queens and kings of Sedona. Atlantean queens and kings. These are the queens and kings of Atlantis. Okay? Carved within the rocks in Sedona. Right? King Zozar. Kings of Thunder Mountain. These ancient carvings have been worn over a millennia, right? You cannot deny this. When water wears on rocks, then the appearance of them disintegrates. Look at that face right there. We are here. We have been here. We didn't come from no daggone Africa. We have been in the United States. We are indigenous to the United States. Because the United States is Egypt. And when I have the opportunity to go back to Sedona, look at this. When I have the opportunity to go back to Sedona, I will give you guys and I will go back on it. I will go back on this tour just to create live footage, live videos of these. Because this is for real. This is for real. Nobody playing like no games. Like we're not clout chasing. We trying to get you hip to your own fucking lineage. We trying to make you aware of your power because they got you thinking that your power is somewhere across the ocean. No, it is not. Your power is right here in the United States. They have found ancient relics, gold tablets within the Grand Canyon, and they don't want you to know this. The more they have you looking far away from yourself, the longer it will take for you to come and step into your true power. And ain't nobody on here debating with y'all. You don't have to believe this. You do not have to believe this, but it is the truth. Because I have seen this with my very own eyes. This is Thunder Rock. This is a temple. I stood on the mountain right across from this. And it's a ancient temple sitting right there in front of us. People go to Sedona all the time because they know this. People don't know this before our people know this. The Asians, they stay in Sedona. The Anglos, the Caucasians, they stay in Sedona because they know what's there. Do you understand? And it is us who are original from this place who don't even believe, right? Look at that. That we are from this land. This is our land. Hey you guys, I just wanted to share a few photos. I recently moved to Arizona and I visited Sedona, and a lot of people have difficulties accepting that Egypt is in the United States. The Grand Canyon, Sedona have relics that are much older and predate that in which we've seen in ancient Kemet. And so I just wanted to show you guys this in the book. I went there on my own. I actually had participated in the tour of these ancient relics, and I've seen them with my own eyes. The next time I go to Sedona, I will definitely do a live video so that people can see this. But as you can see, this is Osiris. This is a monument that was built in Sedona. You can see the rocks are red where the rocks were underneath the water. That means that this place was underneath water. The Great Flood. The rocks are red. When the water oxygenates the sediments, they turn red. Okay? And then you can see in the rocks as well, Isis. This is in ancient Kemet. This is in Sedona. There is no denying what you see right in front of you. I have seen these ancient statues with my own eyes. You can see her curves and everything is right there. But this is just a book that they give us from the tour. This is the Temple of Isis. That is her freaking throne. Listen, you guys, this is in Sedona. And when you go to the Grand Canyon, there are some other gods that have written books that have shown these things. Here is Thoth. Thoth is the bird being. You can see his beak and everything sitting right here. This is the ancient Kemet. This is in Sedona. Ra in Sedona. Thoth in Sedona. Thoth in Sedona. Okay? This is also Horus. In Sedona, the rocks are worn. This is Anubis in Sedona. The rocks are worn. Okay? Hathor. This is Hathor here. The rocks are worn, you guys. This is Sedona. This is Ma'at in Sedona. Akhenaten in Sedona, within the rocks. Akhenaten in Sedona, in the rocks.
That does kind of resemble something a little bit.
These predate Kemet. The rocks have been underwater and they have experienced wear and tear. Massive amounts of wear and tear. Here's Thoth again. Thoth, the god of wisdom. Right? The bird being, the beak. In Sedona. Okay? And what else do we have here? We have camels, baboons. Look at that face. Look at that face right there. In the rocks, in Sedona. You cannot deny this.
One thing I can't deny is the many different faces that's lining up in there. So it looks like definitely there was some carvings. And the fact that water oxygenizes when the rocks turn red, that might be something added to it too. Hey, this is the first time I've seen this. This is a live reaction. You know, this is my first time seeing this. It's almost done.
Okay. The Sphinx. There is a Sphinx in Sedona. You can see this clearly. I'm going to find another angle. Oh, okay, here it is. You can.
I'm William Cooper. We're going to be talking tonight about what we found on our trip to the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Driving across the desert of Nevada, approaching from the Boulder City Highway, looming off in the distance is an incredible sight. If you did not absolutely know, we're listening to the hour of the time. I'm William Cooper. We're going to be talking tonight about what we found on our trip to the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Driving across the desert of Nevada, approaching from the Boulder City Highway, looming off in the distance is an incredible sight. If you did not absolutely know where you were at, you would tend to believe that you were delirious and had somehow been transported to the desert of Egypt. Rising up above the city of Las Vegas is a black, reflecting, huge pyramid, easily as big as the Great Pyramid of Cheops in Egypt. On the top of this pyramid is a crystal capstone, or what appears or looks like crystal capstone, reflecting the sunlight in every direction. If you've ever looked at a polished piece of black obsidian volcanic glass, that might give you some idea of what the surface of this pyramid looks like. As you travel closer along the highway, you begin to see looming up in front of the pyramid an exact replica of the Sphinx. And in front of the Sphinx, towering approximately 150 feet in the air, the phallus of Osiris, an obelisk, for those of you who have not followed our series on the mysteries. And if you don't know what an obelisk is, I'm sure you're acquainted with the Washington Monument. The site is absolutely awe-inspiring. The sheer size of this structure is overwhelming. It covers an area so large that driving around it, one begins to wonder how in the world this could have ever been built, much less built in the short period of time that it was, in fact, assembled. During the time that the Luxor Hotel was under construction, a huge fence surrounded the area. They had armed guards on patrol. No one was allowed to watch the construction or see what was going on, except that part which loomed above the fence. No visitors were allowed to watch the construction, and no press was given access. When we first drove to the Luxor, went around this huge, tremendous complex upon which this hotel sits, and then finally went across the street, parked the car, put our press passes on the front of our garments, got out with our video cameras. I looked directly across the street and was confronted with the head of Tutankhamun, who then promptly winked at me. Everything about this ninth wonder of the world, for it truly is, I can assure you, leaves one with a sense of awe, a sense of disbelief, overwhelming beauty. It is, in fact, beautiful beyond description. What I'm trying to do here is convey to you what I saw, and there are not words enough to do it. Now, if you've listened to our series on Mystery Babylon, you know that the Egyptian pyramids were never tombs. They were not burial places or crypts for the bodies of kings or queens or anyone else. They were temples, great temples of the mystery religion, and they functioned for the purpose of initiation. I can assure you that the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas is a temple of initiation for the masses, the millions upon millions of people who visit that city each year, probably billions. Not just from America, but primarily from America, but also from around the world. For every single bit of symbolism connected with the mysteries is built into this hotel, beginning with the obelisk, which represents the generative force, the Sphinx, which is to remind mankind that he is, after all, only an animal, you can think, and therefore is always engaged in this constant battle between the animal and the intellect. And then the great temple of initiation, the pyramid, this one with capstone intact, crystalline in nature, representing, as the sun reflects and glints off of every faceted side of it, representing the all-seeing eye. To give you some idea of the size of this structure, inside the building on the ground floor, 9 Boeing 747s would fit comfortably with no crowding and no problem. 9 Boeing 747, and those are the huge passenger jets. 9. Inside the building there is an obelisk which begins at the lowest floor, which is below the ground floor actually. Begins on the lowest floor, comes up through the casino onto the upper deck and points directly at the center apex, the zenith of the pyramid, is another obelisk. It is an incredible sight.
Those giant machines be on a whole entire different level back in the day, and they completely wiped out and dug out the Grand Canyon, got all its resources out. How interesting is that? That makes me want to go back and look at those monuments. You know, they probably went around them, or who knows? They probably made the monuments right afterwards. We don't know. It's we're just only picking up the crumbs from the history. So it's lost, and it's up to us to pick up the crumbs and put together the truth. Drop in the comments below what you guys think. Because it got me thinking, if Egypt was over here, let me see. So if we take this new Egypt is in America, you know, how does it all align is what I've been asking myself. Is like, did the Moses and where's the Red Sea at? Where's all this? I have so many different questions of if Egypt was in America. So let's type in, forgive me, my knowledge isn't the greatest, but let's type in, where did Moses die? Where did Moses die? All right. It was on Mount Nebo. All right. So we have Mount Nebo. Want to see Mount Nebo. Oh, there it is. This is where it's at. Does it say the elevation? And it says he's looking over the promised land, which that's Jerusalem, Bethlehem. Like all of this would have to correlate in order for Egypt to be in America. So let's see if we can find Mount Nebo. Mount Nebo, Utah. What? There's a Mount Nebo, Utah? That means the promised land, if he had to look over the promised land, it would be Vegas? Would it be Vegas? Are they trying to say that's Jerusalem? There's no way. This is just, we would have to see some correlation here. And then they're saying the Mississippi. Would be the Nile. Where's the Red Sea at? Let's type in the Red Sea real quick. Red Sea location. Oh, that's the Red Sea? Okay. Where would the Red Sea be? United States. Red Sea, Utah? There's no way. It dried up? That definitely looks like water. Tell me that doesn't look like water used to be there. Moab, that sounds familiar. The Moabites? That sounds familiar. They were drilling over there. They was looking for something. They was trying to find that staff, probably. Look at this, y'all. They was definitely drilling. What was y'all looking for? Man, this just is blowing my mind. What is actually going on here? Back to that Red Sea, though. The Moabites. I remember that. What is the Moabites? Moabites. Definition. What's the Moab definition? In all accounts, Genesis 12:36, the Moabites belong to the same ethnic stock as the Israelites. Their ancestral founder was Moab, son of Lot, who was the nephew of the Israelite patriarch Abraham. The God protector nation, the God and protector of their nation, Chemosh, as Yahweh, was the national God of the Israelites. Dang, that's lining up. Tell me this ain't lining up. They got Moab. Why would they name that? Moabites. The Red Sea. I wonder what happens if I typed in Jerusalem. But we're gonna dive back into these creepy and scary TikToks that might melt your whole reality. Your thoughts below. This is all new to your boy. Your thoughts below, guys. You guys gotta tell me what you think. It looked like it was in Utah. Let's see if anybody's talking about this.
You can see a whole lot from the top of Mount Nebo. Isn't it true you can see the whole land of Utah? The whole land of Utah from Mount Nebo? So I'm sure that Moshe, when he went up Mount Nebo, he can see the whole land of Judah.
Moshe, wasn't that Moses' real name? We getting in. Hey, it's getting real.
Judah, look, every direction. You can see every direction. Look how high they are. This is from the summit of Mount Nebo. Mount Nebo, Utah. Very tall place. And I guess they're going to start climbing down. So I just wanted you guys to see that. get a clear perspective. All right, look how beautiful this place is, Mount Nebo. Some of the yellow flowers here. Look at the view. Again, the whole land of Judah. I just want to show you guys, when you put Mount Nebo on Google or even most search browsers, right? They won't give you Mount Nebo, Utah. They'll give you right away Mount Nebo, the fake one. All right, Mount Nebo, the fake one. We're going to read about this Mount Nebo, the fake one. All right. It says Mount Nebo, right? It says an elevated ridge. It's not even a mountain. It's an elevated ridge located in Jordan. It's a hill, approximately 710 meters, right? 710 meters, only 2,330 feet above sea level. Only 2,330 feet. It's only a hill. It's not even a mountain.
I was wondering about that. The elevation looked a lot bigger on Utah. Like you looking over a vast amount. Come on, y'all. Be honest. A hill or you on top of a mountain? Which one's gonna look? This is my first time. Y'all haven't told me about this before. This is my first time seeing this. Don't worry, I'm taking my time with this one. We got all day. We make movies now. We do creepy and scary TikTok movies now. So we take our times with these. These 2-hour boys, they're movies. So lock in and buckle up. It's your boy Jet Ski Chuck.
Part of the Abiram mountain range, Mount Nebo is mentioned in the Bible as the place where Moses was granted a view of the promised land before his death. So are you telling me that Moses can see the whole land from a hill? So Israel is that small, Judah?
My question is, what about Jerusalem? It looked like Jerusalem was right there. Was he able to see Jerusalem, or was Judah the promised land? I don't know. I'm just trying to put the pieces together. Don't tell me Las Vegas was Jerusalem. That would be wild.
The whole land of Judah is that small. You can see it from a hill. Like literally, this ain't high enough for us to be able to see valleys. You know, valleys far away distance. All right. Now, again, this is the fake one, right? It's only, pay attention, 710 meters, 2,330 feet above sea level. All right. I'm about to take you to the real Mount Nebo. All right. So now we're at Mount Nebo, Utah. The real one, all right? Now you see a real mountain, and you can see the cover of my image for this video. That is what it's on the background of the lion. It's Mount Nebo, snow-covered. What does it say about Mount Nebo? It says it's the southernmost and highest mountain in the Washas Range. Mountain, not an elevated ridge. It's literally a mountain, Mount Nebo. Why are you calling an elevated ridge over there in Israel a mountain if it's not a mountain? This is a real mountain.
I feel like they making it too easy for us. Why would they call it Mount Nebo? Even though that's what it really is. But I feel like they would change the name. This feels too easy, man. Like, hold on. Yup, buckle up, man. End times.
Right? Named after the biblical Mount Nebo. What does it tell you right away? It's named after the biblical Mount Nebo. It is the biblical Mount Nebo. Why would they even mention that? Overlooking Israel, which is said to be the place of Moses' death. It is the centerpiece of the Mount Nebo wilderness inside the Uinta National Forest. Again, the biblical Mount Nebo. This is in Utah. How tall is this? Mount Nebo has two summits. The northern summit reaches 11,933 feet, about 3,700 meters, almost 12,000 feet. Let's go back to the fake one. Again, the fake one, what does it say? Only 2,000 feet. And it's not even a mountain. It's called an elevated ridge. It's not even a mountain. All right, it's only 2,330 feet. You cannot compare that to a real mountain, real Mount Nebo, 11,900 feet above sea level. A real mountain, a real mountain. I want you guys to understand that. Stop trying to compare these fake biblical locations with real mountains and real valleys, real plains. Look at this is a real biblical land, the whole land of Judah, right? The whole land of Judah or Utah, Mount Nebo. Again, the biblical Mount Nebo, overlooking Israel, which is said to be the place of Moshe's death. All right, Deuteronomy 34. We're going to go ahead and read it again. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab. All right, we already found that. Unto the mountain of Nebo. We already got the real one. To the top of Pisgah. We found that as well. That is over against Jericho. All right, we found that as well. And the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead. We found South Gilead. And unto Dan, which is Daniel, Utah. And Naphtali, we found Nephi. And then the land of Ephraim, which we found, and the old town of Manasseh, which was next to Ephraim, which is no longer in existence, but it was there. All these places are in Utah, in that small area, which is right next to Mount Nebo, Mount Pisgah. So you'll be able to see all these places from the top of Mount Nebo, all right? And the whole land of Judah. You'll be able to see the whole land of Judah, he told Moshe, unto the utmost sea and the South Sea, right? And what does it say again? More importantly, and the Lord said unto Moshe, this is the land which I swore unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes. All right, I have caused you to see it with your own eyes. Here it is, with your own eyes. Mount Nebo, the plains of Moab. All right, everything was here. Jericho, Ephraim, Manasseh, it's all here. Mount Pisgah, Mount Nebo. We have Utah Lake, the Sea of Galilee, has a Jordan River, empties out into the Dead Sea, or a
The Sea of Galilee, let's go.
Salt Lake. We're going to get that coming up. All right, just wanted you guys to see. Go back to the verse. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes. Now that you have seen it with your own eyes, all right, what do you think? And he told Moses, but thou shalt not go over there. Moses never made it to the whole land. He died during the Exodus. So Moses, the servant of Hawa, died there in the land of Moab, in Utah, according to the word of Hawa. All right, and he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor. But no man knoweth of his sepulture unto this day. They haven't found Moses' tomb, even until today. They haven't found it. Why? Because they're looking in the wrong places. They're looking at these fake places over there. These fake places, this fake Mount Nebo, right? They're not looking at the real Mount Nebo, Utah. They're not looking at the real Mount Nebo. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force ahead. All right, and what happened? The children of Israel wept. For what area? I found this rock here, right? They call it a rock. It's called Dunn's Route. It says here, Moses Island in the Sky. That's what it's actually called. Moses Island in the Sky. This is in Canyonlands, Utah. Thought it was very interesting that one of these weird, monuments that, don't look just like rocks. It looks like it could have been something way back. Shout out to all the mud flood researchers out there and the reset. Seems like something definitely happened. There's a lot of what looks like, artificial monuments, even tree stumps that have been turned to rock. So I just thought it was interesting that they named one of these things after Moses. I know there's the story of Moses splitting the rock and getting water out. I don't know if this is the one. I just thought it was very interesting. And the way it looks could almost be like, used to be a statue, a monument, a building or something. But why did they name it Moses Island in the Sky? And we're talking about Moses in Mount Nebo and Utah, right? And the Exodus coming out of Utah. Not starting there, but at least.
So what happened here and what made this? What type of atomic beam did this?
A little over 100 years ago, this is what Cherokee Indians looked like in North Carolina. I don't know about you, that looks like a brother to me. Now keep in mind, this man is native to America, right? He would actually be technically classified as a Jew. That would then label him as God's people. Therefore, he would be owed some money. Fast forward in today's society where this man was reclassed into a Negro, and I'm going to show you how they did it with this process of reclassifying Indians to Negroes. Have you ever heard of this man? Walter Ashby Plecker. This guy was the first register of vital statistics for the state of Virginia. Good old Walter. Let me tell you what he did. He had some pull. And what he did was he classified citizens into two simple racial categories. And that was white and colored. All Mr. Walter could see was in black and white. Mr. Plecker then categorized any dark individual to colored. Mr. Plecker pressured state agencies into reclassifying Indians as colored to wipe away the Indian legacy and their identity, so that way when Virginia Indians try to get their money, they're denied. And they're denied because now they're not classified as Indians, they're classified as colored folks. So basically, they found a way to reclassify native, indigenous, black people, God's people. They were able to reclassify them as if they were foreigners. And they were able to take their riches, take their land, right? The conquerors conquering the land and the people, right? And giving them traditions, right? And taking their lineage so that they cannot protect themselves. It's all right here. Virginia wasn't the only people doing this, reclassifying people, indigenous people, so that way their wealth, their legacy is given to what other race.
Hold on. We running out of time, so I guess I'm going. Oh, no.
Hey, back to the indigenous people, going back on it, there's definitely some validity there. A little bit about myself. I grew up in a real diverse community. It was just as many black people as there were Asians, as there were white people, as there were Arabs, as there was me chilling with Indians, and we were all friends. And when I say Indians, I mean like both kinds, you know, with the I guess the Hindu type Indian. Forgive me, y'all, if I'm being severely ignorant. I'm just explaining this the best way I can. And we was all cool, you know. It just, race wasn't a huge issue. I didn't experience super racism. But looking back on the past and seeing what happens, I'm not that ignorant to see that stuff happen to set people up for a worse future. But with all that being said and looking at that last creepy and scary TikTok, it definitely has some validity. They've been lying to us about everything.
Like the layouts of citydoms and castles, locations. And what guys found this very fruitful.
Chapter 1.
The heathen raged.
God's wrath is a consuming fire. Possibly were pyramids, structure, idols, Moab, Utah, and just all across Utah are the process of nature and just natural erosion fire. The first example in millions of years. But what of Harriot? In Moab, Utah, you find
this right here is what sold me. What was the actual...
with the sound of the trumpet. So throughout the scripture, many people look, God destroyed Moab's kingdom. And as I've mentioned before, one of the most fruitful things you can study in the Bible, Moab comes from the name Moabites, which belongs especially when you consider the fact that the J and Y have the same meaning and numerical value and are interchangeable.
This whole time, I didn't know what Moabites, Moabs did it first. People kept saying that, and I didn't know what they were talking about. But when he just said this right here and showed a picture of that rock, it was like, click. Like Avatar when they touched those strings and they saw all their ancestors. All that flashed.
As a result, now all across Utah you have fascinating rock formations, very unique compared to the rest of the Americas. And one of the most fascinating places in Utah is Moab, Utah. In the Bible, Moab comes from the name Moabites, which belong to the same ethnic stock as the Israelites. Their ancestral founder was Moab, a son of Lot, who was a nephew of the Israelite patriarch Abraham. The Moabites were known to be the enemies of God's people. The kingdom of Moab would constantly mistreat the Israelites. And as a result, to punish the Moabites for mistreating the Israelites, God destroyed Moab's kingdom. And as I've mentioned before, one of the most fruitful things you can study in the Bible.
And it said Moab had a kingdom. Can you imagine what that kingdom actually looked like back in the day? Is there any pictures of Moab's kingdom? Hold on. We're on these waters. Sit tight. Get you a drink. Get you a snack. Keep your head on a swivel because we are taking our time with this. Let's see if we can find what the actual kingdoms look like beforehand. If there's a drawing, anything, manuscript.
The story of King Solomon serves as a reminder of the importance of wisdom, integrity, and faithfulness to God. During his reign, Solomon built a magnificent temple for the worship of God and established peace and prosperity in the land. However, Solomon's downfall came through his indulgence in relationships with many foreign women. In his pursuit of alliances and political stability, he entered into marriages with many princesses from neighboring nations, totaling 700 wives and 300 concubines. Initially, Solomon's foreign wives led him away from worshiping the one true God. They brought their own gods and idols into the land, and Solomon began to worship these false deities. This greatly displeased God, who had explicitly commanded the Israelites to worship him alone. As a consequence of Solomon's actions, God appeared to him and declared that because of his disobedience, the kingdom would be divided after his death. However, for the sake of his father David, God promised not to do this during Solomon's lifetime. Solomon's excessive relationships with foreign women also led to strife within his kingdom. His wives turned his heart away from God, and he began to prioritize their desires over God's commandments. This ultimately resulted in the downfall of the United Kingdom of Israel after his death. In the end, despite Solomon's wisdom and wealth, his pursuit of pleasure and worldly alliances didn't matter, and led to the spiritual decline of his kingdom. It is a reminder that true fulfillment and blessings come from wholehearted devotion to God and obedience to his word. This is the end of this.
To 931 BCE. According to the Hebrew Bible, he was the son of King David. In various religious and mythological traditions, including Islamic, Christian, and occult traditions, there are references to King Solomon's interactions with demons. One particular legend involves Solomon's ability to control 72 demons using a magical artifact called the Seal of Solomon, or Solomon's Seal. These demons are often referred to as the 72 demons of the Goetia. According to the legend, Solomon received a ring from God that had a seal engraved on it, granting him authority over the spiritual world. It is said that he used this seal to command and bind the 72 demons, compelling them to reveal their knowledge and perform tasks for him. Each demon had a specific name, characteristic, and area of expertise. These 72 demons are commonly described in grimoires and occult texts, including the 17th century grimoire called the Lesser Key of Solomon, or Lemegeton. In this text, each demon is listed along with a description of their abilities, appearance, and instructions on how to summon and control them. The stories surrounding King Solomon and the 72 demons have been a subject of fascination for occultists, scholars, and enthusiasts of esoteric knowledge throughout history. King Solomon,
Yo, they ain't talking to their loved ones. So this is who CERN is probably trying to bring out. This is what they trying to do, y'all. I didn't know this, but the pieces are starting to add up. Who are they really talking to, y'all?
In Africa, you have 7 of the main spirits. You got 7 main chakras. Don't worship no Orisha. They are all parts of your own body. Before I go in about the demons of Galatia in West Africa. Shout out to Bobby Hemmett. He said we are chaos beings. It's not fitting to call us gods. We are above the gods. That's a whole spirit. In this book by Aleister Crowley, he states that each one of these 72 demons have about 20 to 50 legions of other demons. A legion is a couple thousand. That's like 3,000 to 10,000. Which means you have over 1 million and millions of demons inside your own pineal gland. That's a whole spiritual army in your whole pineal gland. If you check out the movie Spawn, Spawn was played by your boy Michael J. White. In the comic book or the movie, Spawn was supposed to leave this hell army and tear down Heaven's Gate. But in the movie, he was talked down by the white boy and he ain't want to do it no more. Even when Doctor Strange's third eye opened, he destroyed the whole earth and every single reality. God, generator, operator, destroyer, which is your Kundalini energy that bites the apple, which is the pineal gland. The Kundalini energy, which is the snake rising up the spine, which is the 30.
Welcome to the Quantum Genie. I am the Quantum Genie, the unit of expression for quantum mechanics, or the matrix, the false reality, the holographic universe, is known as the qubit. You must ponder, why is the unit of measurement in the Bible also known as the qubit? It is because since ancient times, time immemorial, we have been in the matrix.
Why is the government lying to us about history? There is a civilization as recent as 100 years ago that was omitted from the history books called the Tartarian Empire, and it was technologically far superior. They were able to convert atmospheric pressure into electricity.
The Arabic word for swear by is uwa. This is the word shaitan. When you put the words together, you have wa shaitan, which is Washington. And as you can see here, these are pictures of Tartarian influence on the original capital in Washington, D.C. This is Sam Hill, or Uncle Sam, which is derived from the name Samael.
Samael nature.
Samael is but one of the 72 demons of the Goetia. And if you look here, this is the EU AI Act, Article 72, which speaks on artificial intelligence. Again, reference to the number 72.
What if I told you that Lucifer is not the only prince of hell? Let me explain. The Lesser Key of Solomon is a grimoire from the Middle Ages on demonology and contains the descriptions of the 7 princes of hell. The 7 princes of hell are considered to be the rulers of hell and are the leaders of hundreds of legions of demons. Mammon is one of the 7 princes of hell and is the personification of greed, wealth, abundance, and injustice. Mammon is considered to be a fallen angel who represents the greedy pursuit of wealth and power. Mammon entices people to commit immoral actions in their pursuit for wealth and money. Mammon is also a term used to refer to money and material wealth. It is used in the Gospel of Luke and Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus says that you can't serve both God and Mammon. What if I told you that Lucifer
It didn't say that. It didn't say that. It didn't say you can't serve both God and Mammon. We gotta look that up right now. You can't serve two gods, scripture. Alright, it looks like it's Matthew 6:24. Got my handy dandy notebook. Yeah, it says that no one is able to serve 2 masters, for either he shall hate the one and love the other, or else he shall cleave to one and despise the other. You are not able to serve Elohim and Mammon. There it is. Matthew 5. Mattathiu. There it is. Matthew. My question is, why would he put his actual name in the Bible? Like he wanted us to know his name. Know thy enemy, huh?
Of God's people. The kingdom of Moab would constantly mistreat the Israelites. And as a result, to punish the Moabites for mistreating the Israelites, God destroyed Moab's kingdom. And as I've mentioned before, one of the most fruitful things you can study in the Bible is what God's wrath looks like. Whenever God shows his wrath in the scriptures, it often seems to be in the form of a consuming fire. We see examples of this in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where God made it rain fire and brimstone. But Sodom and Gomorrah is not the only kingdom that experienced a consuming fire. Many kingdoms throughout the Bible have experienced God's consuming fire, including Sodom and Gomorrah and the Egyptians, but also the Moabites, such as found in the book of Amos, chapter 2, verse 2.
Where was Sodom and Gomorrah then? That's what we're gonna look up next.
But I will send a fire upon Moab, and it shall devour the palaces of Kerioth, and Moab shall die with.
See, it says it that play button's in the way, but it says palaces. They had those Tartarian palaces back in the day. You know, that's just when they say a palace, it just wasn't some, you know, sticks and stones and they erected it. Man, it could have been pyramids. It could have been all types of stuff. Pyramids, definitely those Tartarian buildings, without a doubt, from that rock.
Tumult, with shouting, and with the sound of the trumpet. So throughout the scripture, God says that he destroyed Moab with a consuming fire. And what do we find that's very interesting in Moab, Utah? All throughout the location of Moab, Utah, you find very fascinating rock formations. Now
This is not a game. This is far from a game. This is real life. This really happened in your backyard at that. Oh my goodness. This really happened.
told in school that these are the process of natural erosion through millions and millions of years. But what if Moab, Utah is the result of God's consuming fire? And this place is the true location of the Moabites that got consumed by fire. The first example I want to show you of fascinating rock formations is the church rock just south of Moab.
Church rock. That's what we want to look into. Church rock. I'm gonna let them finish, but I'm gonna remember that. Church rock.
It's a very interesting, fascinating rock formation that looks like it possibly in the past was once a temple. The look of this structure doesn't look like it was the process of natural erosion, but it looks as if it used to be some kind of monument that went through a cataclysm. And we're just simply told that all these fascinating rock formations are the process of nature and just natural erosion through...
No, those were old palaces. Some Tartarian crazy looking palaces. And they was being mean to the Israelites.
Millions of years. But when you really look around all across Moab, Utah, and just all across Utah in general, these rock formations look like the layouts of cities. As the Bible states, God's wrath is a consuming fire, and that he will cause kingdoms to melt like wax, making them pretty much unrecognizable.
I remember seeing a TikTok where some dudes, some explorers grabbed a piece. They went to some other country that grabbed a piece, and it was like, look, you see this sulfur? This is where it happened. You know, like I was going. I'm like, yeah, that's where it's at. But what better proof do you need to see of it just being melted like that? And I want to test this and see if there's some sulfur content in there. This is straight up melted.
from their glorious original state. So yeah, all across Utah, Moab, Utah, you find very interesting structures that possibly were pyramids and kingdoms and castles and idols. But we're just told, oh, this is nothing interesting. This is the process of natural erosion. So now the famous old questions that a lot of believers like to ask. Why would the devil lie about biblical locations? Why does it matter? It matters because it hides true biblical history, and it also hides proof of God's wrath and what God can do to an entire kingdom in the blink of an eye. I hope you guys found this very fruitful and interesting.
Real quick, just to add on top of that, they say you look at the astrology and you see the Scorpio and all that stuff, the Capricorn. Those weren't originally for Greek mythology. Those were originally the entire alphabet of the Paleo Hebrew alphabet. They just took and formed a crab and a Scorpio within the original Paleo Hebrew alphabet. So when you look in the stars, that's actually the Paleo Hebrew alphabet in the stars, not some astrology.
Said is associated with the tribe of Judah.
This isn't the first time in this investigation that the name Judah has come up. The Bat Creek stone inscription reads, "For the Judeans," in Paleo Hebrew.
So Noah built the ark out of gopher wood. Do you know that gopher wood originates over here in Americas, in Bluntstown, Florida? Bluntstown, Florida. Check out this article right here, where it's saying that Adam and Eve was created in Asia, that Noah built the ark and launched it from that part of the world. The late E.E. Calloway, who devoted almost a lifetime study to the subject, wrote a book in 1966 in which he said that the garden was between Bristol and Chattahoochee, yes, in Florida, and that the ark was also made there 27 miles west of Tallahassee. This is crazy. Hey, check this out.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community.
But how did black people, all of a sudden young black people in the community of black people, all of a sudden become the problem to Israel? Please explain this to me. Is it because your guilt's starting to get to you?
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite. Ancient Israelite, that's what we are. That's what we are. Give me time. Yeah. If you give me time. But all that he said. I know. We don't have so many years. I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you. All right. I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible. Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews?
The Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 1. The Song of Songs, which is Solomon.
So, Kyle, do you know who Solomon is? Of Israel. Good. Solomon was the son of King David. You heard of David before as well. So, now, Solomon just said, this is my song. Look what he says in verse 5.
Verse 5. I am black.
No, white.
I am black.
No, red.
I am black.
You ever been to church before, Kyle? Have you ever heard that in the church? Never.
Oh my goodness, y'all. It's getting real in the field. Let's continue on these waters. Who are the Moabites? That's what. Well, so were the Moabites the Tartarians? That's what I want to know.
In the movies.
The history of your country seems to consist of nothing more than a squalid string of conspiracies, rebellions, revolutions, murders, and massacres. Every judgment seems to be motivated by greed, by malice, hypocrisy, hatred, envy, lust, and madness.
Truth in the movies.
The history of your country seems to consist of nothing more than a squalid string of conspiracies, rebellions, revolutions, murders, and massacres. Every judgment seems to be motivated by greed, by malice, hypocrisy, hatred, envy, lust, and madness. You have proved that ignorance, idleness, and vice are the only qualifications for public office, and that your laws are made by those whose only interest is in perverting them. I can only conclude that your people are the most pernicious race of odious little vermin that ever nature suffered to crawl upon the face of the earth. I can only conclude that your people are the most pernicious race of odious little vermin that ever nature suffered to crawl upon the face of the earth.
What movie was that? They were giants?
City of Chicago, before it was
This is Tartarian tech. These are called war tubes acoustical sound locators used to locate energy aircraft.
Those things look like those things on Star Wars, don't they? Those AT-ATs or whatever.
Means we descend really from the giants that lost their territory and ask the original people which means we descend really from the giants that lost their territory and ask the original people, the original pharaohs of Egypt over here to come over here and build the glorious cities. You understand? They all doing the same thing, fam. They all agents. They all was here from the beginning to make us believe that how black people act is how they really act, when this was an act that was perpetuated through them, through the talented 10th universities and the Freemasonic black organizations that were working in tandem to hide the true lineage and the descendants of the pre-Atlantean antediluvian world who descended into the great tribes, clans and nations of both the Barbary, the Moors of Barbary and the Moors of ancient Tartary, who both were of the Asiatic race and used their grace and splendor to free the whole world during the Dark Ages.
This one is out cold. Where is this one at?
More images of humans.
The Great Reset Tartaria Sky.
Born 1162 near Lake Baikal. Brought all net poured out like devils from Tartarus.
Simply looking at this photo, and I just had to take it to this level. Of zooming in, simply looking at this photo, and I just had to take it to this level of zooming in and talking through it with you guys. Okay, now look at this fucking thing. Okay, now it shows airships all over some location. It says it in French. I didn't even have a chance to type it in a translator. I just needed to look at this picture and show you what I'm looking at here. Okay, so look, I'm zooming in here, and there's a fucking obelisk that's being lifted by an airship. There's a pediment in the back, this triangle thing. These things are called pediments that you see on top of all of these buildings. See all the columns underneath. We got these airships that are actually lifting stuff, putting stuff into place, explaining how these heavy fucking things move from place to place. This obelisk, we always ask these questions of how things like this are lifted, how things like this are moved. But look, man, they're showing it in this amazing picture here that shows all these airships in the sky lifting all of these heavy things. And this isn't some Photoshop thing. What is this? Okay, what is this one? This is I can't even explain what this, it's like a helicopter without the propeller on the top. It's just, look at it. It's crazy. I can't even understand it. Or is this a propeller? This piece here in the middle, this X thing, I can't figure out what the hell it is, man. But look at it, man. Just look at this fucking picture. And join me in asking, what the fuck is that? Huh? What is that? Let's have a little look here. This is me zooming in and out. Okay? These things are flying in the sky. Things are lifting shit. Let's see what's going on the ground. You see any people on the ground? I don't know. I can't quite tell. It looks like some people are watching it right there. Like there's two people. Look how small they are. Two people maybe right there in the middle. And I'm looking around, see what else I see here. Yeah, it looks like some people over there. For such a huge task going on, you got like 5 people so far. 6, 7. Looks like a dude on a bike maybe. I can't quite tell here. It is a bit fuzzy, but look at this shit, man. I'm just showing you guys. This is old world Tartaria in our fucking faces. This is how shit was built. This is how these stones were moved. Look at this. Okay? The Parla Zeppelin. These things are called Zeppelins. Okay? I can't say that. It's in French. I will type it in and see what it says. But anyway, join me in asking the question. What the fuck? What the fuck? But here's the original picture that I found online. And I'm just leaving you guys with some screenshots of different parts of it for you to have a look at yourself. Just look at it, man. I'm just leaving you with that. Just look at it. This is Tartaria on our fate.
Hoax. The Smithsonian Castle. The keeper of all of America's hidden secrets. Look at this thing. They want to claim that this thing here, this building here, is just something we built. And meanwhile, it's covered with Tartarian intricate designs. The windows, the cymatic emblems, towers, the Antiquitech antennas. I mean, this thing is just ridiculous. I went there once when I was very young. I look at it now from a completely different perspective, and all I see is the Tartarian influence around this building, the towers, the arches, the large, really ridiculous rooftop we see here from the inside. Don't you find it particularly interesting to see the same cymatic symbols on all of these windows that we find in Tartarian churches and cathedrals all across the world? And somehow this is in a castle in the middle of Washington, D.C. It happens to be the building that holds all of America's history and hidden history. Where are the giant bones? Just have a quick look here at the design that you see. I'm completely unapologetic about looking at this here and comparing it to all of the churches and cathedrals that I've been wandering around Wales, looking at across the world in my series of Tartarian stuff that I put on my channel. I'm convinced, and I hope that you can see it as well, that this is hidden right in your faces. It's like a smack in your face. It's a pure smack of global gaslighting right in our faces. We see what it is, analyzing what it is. We're comparing these buildings across the world with their similarities and their purpose, their red bricks, their antennas, their towers, their cymatics, etc., etc. But then we come over and here's the museum, the Smithsonian Museum of America, telling us, no, we built this. We built all the same structures across all of America. It's constant, blatant fucking lies, and I'm sick of it.
Now I gotta go to the Smithsonian. That's the beautiful part about having these new eyes that can see the truth. Because everywhere you go, you're gonna put 2 and 2 together. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's got the red bricks, it's got the copper antenna. Oh yeah, they were generating ether back in the day. Those palaces that they were talking about in the Moorish civilizations, Tartarian. I get it now.
I've just found a video of a giant elephant. This video seems to have been released accidentally. But look at the size of this fucking thing. This is a giant elephant and a bunch of people. I've just found a video of a giant elephant This video seems to have been released accidentally. But look at the size of this fucking thing. This is a giant elephant, and a bunch of people are cheering it on. And look at the size of it. This is not normal. This adds fuel to the fire of the fact that giant beings exist. Giant animals once existed, giants once existed, and here's to show that they still do. Thank you for watching. Mr. 76 signing out.
Tartarian whales at the Cardiff power grid.
Now, when they say the Moorish palaces, this is what I imagine. I imagine this stacked up everywhere in Utah.
This is our self-powered TV that we have designed, the first in the world to have.
So this happened from asteroids, right? At least that's what we've been programmed to believe. But what if I told you that this was a phenomenon? So this happened from asteroids, right? At least that's what we've been programmed to believe. But what if I told you that this was a phenomena that has happened from below and not something that fell from above?
Isn't it interesting that what we have thought to be craters look a lot like geysers? Now let's compare both side by side.
Pretty similar, right? Now, don't you find it strange that if these were from the impact of meteors, that no such thing is ever by or around these craters? Check out what Genesis 7:11 says. It says, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened." Are you following me? God opened up the windows of heaven, and water came out through the firmament, and also it sprung up from the ground.
Think of these as giant geysers that erupted at the time of the flood.
Satan, the god of this world, and those who are serving his purpose are trying to cover up the fact that God has judged the world before by a flood. And as 2 Peter says, that these scoffers are willingly ignorant that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed by water, perished. They deny the flood because if that happened, then so will his judgment by fire later come to pass. These large craters are also proof of a flood. Nothing is getting in or out until God cracks that sky open and he returns a second time. The evidence is all around us if you have eyes to see.
Look at this crater that was on National Geographic. You talking about the great deeps being broke open? Man. And if we're looking at this, I can't help but So what exactly? So what exactly is going on the moon then? Could there possibly be great deeps on the moon, or is this the reflection? Is this honestly the reflection of the Earth?
It a secret because they don't want you to know.
So this is an exact experiment they can replicate, showing how the waters in the deep are possible.
Center of the flat Earth, which is directly below the star Polaris, aka the North Star. This is also the location where the aurora borealis. This is a short video showing the holy hole at the center of the flat Earth, which is directly below the star Polaris, aka the North Star. This is also the location where the aurora borealis, positive magnetic energy seen as green lights in the night skies, especially the further north you get, shoots out of the Earth plane and can be seen in many countries that are closer to the center of the flat Earth. Out of the North Pole open in Babel area.
All right, guys, I wanted to go over this moon map real quick. Because if the moon is the reflection, what do we take about this? If we look at the fountains as the great deep, If this is the moon map, then the fountains of the great deep, what is this right here? This is what this could be the biggest one of them all.
Before I get started, this is only for entertainment purposes only. TikTok, this is all a lie. I'm just having fun. All right, let's get into this. America is really ancient Egypt in the Grand Canyon Part 3. All right, so I know I talked about how the Grand Canyon is really the path to Africa, or how America is really ancient Egypt, but let's dig more deeper into this, shall we? For starters, let's talk about this picture in the background. Now, this picture is a picture of the Grand Canyon, and this is Vishnu's temple. So I just want you to take a good look at this picture. Now, if you're really studying this picture and really look at it, you can almost kind of make out a figure in the rock formation. Now, I want you to take a good look at this picture right here. This picture is the Great Sphinx of Giza. Now, let's put two and two together. It almost kind of looks the same. If you really look at the photos of each, just really pay attention to the rock formation of both photos. Oh, but wait, there's more. Let's get more deep into this, but I'm gonna need y'all to follow me. Okay, so as I mentioned in my previous videos of this archaeologist named Kincaid, how he stumbled across some ancient Egyptian artifacts, what I didn't mention was that he also came across some giant mummies as well. So he was like exploring in this cave, and he also found some mummified giants, supposedly. All right, so according to this article right here, another interesting finding was the discovery of mummified bodies inside the citadel. None of the mummies found were less than 2.74 meters, and all were wrapped in dark linen. Kincaid said he had taken photographs of one of them with a flashlight. However, none of those photos were found. But according to the Smithsonian, there was never an archaeologist named Kincaid. According to them, they said that story was completely fabricated. But yeah, I'm going to need y'all to keep following me. And as I mentioned in some of my previous videos of the Grand Canyon, some of the areas are restricted. Some of the areas are a no-fly zone. What are you guys hiding? Are they hiding the fact there are pyramids or hieroglyphics or Egyptian ancient artifacts in the Grand Canyon? Not only can you fly over the Grand Canyon, certain areas of the Grand Canyon, you can't even bring a drone to fly over certain areas of the Grand Canyon. No drone zone in the Grand Canyon. I don't know. That's kind of suspicious to me. All right, so according to this article right here, this is a photo of one of the forbidden areas of the Grand Canyon where you are restricted to go to. Now, this photo was taken in 1909, and you can see that there are metal rods bolted to the cave. It's like, what are they hiding in that cave that they had that bolted shut? Also, according to this article, it's also known that the cavity was inhabited in the distant past and that many precious artifacts were removed during an official excavation in 1969-1970. Oh, but wait, it continues to get even more interesting and more deeper. I'm gonna need y'all to keep following me. Now, don't you guys find it weird that some of the names in the Grand Canyon, the features, the names are Egyptian names? According to this article right here, there are so many names that are Egyptian in the Grand Canyon, such as Tower of Set, Tower of Ra, Horus Temple, Osiris Temple, and Isis Temple. Is that a coincidence or not? Oh, but that's nothing. According to this map right here, this map is the Old Testament map of ancient America. Pay close attention to this map right here. That, I don't know about that. Oh, but let's keep going. Okay, so I was doing a little bit more research, and I came across this website right here. It's called tapinthetruth.com. This website will have you really going down the rabbit hole. But according to this, website, this is actually the real compass, how it really was supposed to be. But it was flipped around to deceive us in the world. The original compass was taken from Buxton and Skinner's company in 1904, allegedly. So if this really was how the compass really was, so that means America would be the Middle East, not Egypt. Also, according to this website right here, it says that if you take the map of Egypt and you overlay it on top of the southeastern part of North America, you will see that everything matches up 100%. Now, you can pause it and finish reading the article, but it goes on to say that basically the Mississippi River is really the Nile River. Oh, but no, let's keep going. All right, so there's another theory going around on TikTok how the Grand Canyon was in the movie The Lion King. I mean, I really couldn't find much on it, but so I tried to put together something from my research or whatever. And you know how I always talk about universal law, how they always hide the truth in plain sight. So here's one of the scenes from The Lion King. This is where the stampede was happening. Okay, and here is an actual photo of one of the part of the Grand Canyon. I mean, they kind of do look similar. I mean, if you kind of put both of them together side by side, it does look similar. Now, this very much really can be a reach, but if you really look at both photos, it does look like it's, you know, the Grand Canyon.
That's not a reach.
I need y'all to really pay attention to this one and use your discernment. All right, so this is one of the pictures of Ra. This is the Egyptian god. He is depicted as a half man, half falcon, and he is supposedly the god of the sun. All right, here's a better photo. And here's another one. I mean, basically the same photos, but pay attention to the pictures. Now, here's the picture on our dollar bill. Now, go back to the other photo. Matter of fact, you don't even have to go back. I'm going to put them side by side. Now, you tell me now, if this is not a coincidence or, like, then what is it? Like, and it looks exactly the same. Yeah, one more thing I want to mention on the dollar bill, we have the pyramid. Now, a lot of people will say that the pyramid is, you know, they want to connect it to the Illuminati and the all-seeing eye. But if you look at it from a different perspective of America is really ancient Egypt, it's a pyramid. Pyramids are associated with Egypt. So that's another thing that you got to think about as well. But yeah, like I said, y'all should do your own research and come to your own judgment. But like I said, I'm just here, just, you know, only for entertainment purposes only.
Ancient Egyptian tombs inside the Grand Canyon? That's what an explorer found right before the government closed the area off from the public. Way back in...
Hey, she broke it down. She went all the way through there. That's what's up.
Before I get started, this is only for entertainment purposes.
That's what's up. Shout out to Ms. Nelly 1111. She broke it through there.
Oh, we've got your ass. We've got your ass now. This is known as an atmospheric energy conductor, also known as Antiquitech. Many people believe that this is just a temple or a place of worship, but really its true function is to gather natural energy from the ether and convert it into electricity. Oh my days. So this is why they call it a cathedral. A cathode is a type of electrode through which electrons move. Electrons are a semiconductor, usually a metal, that is connected to something that is not metal. A cathode delivers electrons, negative charge, and the anode collects electrons that have a positive charge. Oh my diddy. And this is another type of building that does the same thing. That's why you always find gold at the top, and the columns and arches have coils in them, conducting the current of positive and negative ions. And they're always covered in copper.
Yeah, when...
And they're always covered in copper. Anode is the electrode where oxidation occurs, and cathode is the electrode where reduction occurs. So did they have electricity in the past? You'd be naive to believe they didn't.
Shout out to the Bully Slayer. They definitely were conducting back in the day. I just want to see what the Moorish palace looked like way before. I'm sure that thing was out cold, but it all turned, got melted now. Hey man, your boy exhausted. That's all I got. Hey guys, I felt like I missed a lot of stuff, but I did my best on this one, man. If you made it this far on this one, say great movie. You know, I appreciate you guys sticking with me on these longer ones. And I know you made it all the way through if you put great movie at the end. And I just want to say thank you for everyone that liked this. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace out.